Hello, beautiful people of Earth. It's Talum Knox, co-founder of the AwareWolves, back with some more medical fitness for your ear holes. In this episode of the podcast, I'm going to talk about the concept of metaphysics. What exactly is it, and why is it important? Many misconceptions exist about metaphysics, especially in regarding its modern interpretations and applications. Now, some groups believe that the rise of science and the scientific revolution has completely or mostly eliminated the need to even study metaphysics. But as you'll hear from the AwareWolves time and time again, science and metaphysics are like brother and sister, one dissecting the material world around us, while the other explores the world within the mind. The latter, a form of introspection and analysis that is able to essentially pull back the layers of illusion and bring us closer to who we really are. So, I'm sure you're asking, what is metaphysics? Well, if you want to look it up in the dictionary or what have you, metaphysics is going to come up as the branch of philosophy studying existence, pretty much in general. It is the foundation of your worldview, is really what it is. It answers the question, what is? It encompasses everything that exists, as well as the nature of existence itself. It considers questions regarding whether the world is real or just some illusion. Metaphysics simply means after physics. This is what an editor of Aristotle's work named Andronicus of Rhodes called the books which he put behind what we now call Aristotle's physics, so after physics. Aristotle actually never used the term metaphysics himself. Instead, he referred to the first principle or original cause. Now, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy notes that the title was probably meant to warn students of Aristotle's work that they should probably read the metaphysics only after they've grappled with the physics. Some New Age religions interpret metaphysics to mean beyond the physical instead of just beyond or after physics. Now, this is an illusion, not an illusion, but an allusion to the theory that Aristotle was actually sharing with his students esoteric information about the reality of nature and life in general. Now, these concepts would later go on to shape all the modern world's religions. Now, like mathematics, metaphysics is a non-empirical study. It's conducted using analytical thought alone. Now, unlike physics, which studies concrete objects in the material world, metaphysics studies abstract objects like numbers, logic, causation. It's often used to describe topics that lack the empirical evidence that they need to be classified or accepted by mainstream science. It may be useful to say that a metaphysical statement implies an idea about the world or the universe, which may seem reasonable, but is ultimately not actually empirically verifiable, testable, or even provable. Metaphysics deals with the basic questions of life, such as the relationship of man, mind, and the universe, questions that lead to answers such as, or the questions such as, who am I? What am I? Where have I been? Where am I going? Now, one question being contemplated by philosophers is whether or not reality is made up of things that somehow change over time, or maybe things are just temporary shapes that our perception plucks from a flux of unruly, unfolding processes. Balancing an understanding of science with a comprehension of metaphysical concepts can lead to peace of mind in this very, very crazy and trying time. Aristotle broke up metaphysics into 3 categories that still exist. Each one tackles its own set of existential issues. Ontology, also known as the study of being and existence, this includes the definition and classification of entities, physical or mental, the nature of their properties, and the nature of change. Natural theology is the study of God, including the nature of religion and the world, the existence of the divine, all questions about the creation, and the other religious and spiritual issues, depending on the different religions. Universal science is the study of the first principles of logic and reasoning, such as the law of attraction. Metaphysicians are interested in the nature of objects and their properties, and the relationship between the two. The identity of an entity composed of other entities can be explained by reference to the identity of the building blocks and how they are interacting. An example of this is a house can be explained by referencing the wood, the metal, or the glass that are combined in a very specific way to form the house, or it could be explained as the atoms that form it, depending on the argument. Aristotle's law of identity, also known as the axiom of identity, states that to exist and existence, which is just an entity that exists, must have an identity, a particular identity. A thing cannot exist without existing as something. Otherwise, it would be nothing and it would not exist. An object cannot have 2 identities at the same time or in the same respect. The concept of identity is important because it makes explicit that reality has a definite nature, which makes it knowable, and since it exists in a particular way, it has no contradictions. Change is the alteration of identities, whether it be a stone falling to the earth, or a wave crashing on shore, or a log burning to ash. For something to change, which has an effect, it needs to be acted upon or caused by a previous action. In today's world, the word metaphysical has become a description of many fields of interest. When one expresses an interest in metaphysics, that interest may be in one or any combination of these topics: philosophy, religion, parapsychology, mysticism, yoga, ESP, dreams, positive thinking, Jungian psychology, transcendentalism, reincarnation, transpersonal and theocentric psychology, astrology, meditation, self-help studies. The list goes on and on. If we were to travel from one metaphysical teacher or organization to another, we would find people engaging in different things, all under the label of metaphysics. This could be a wide range, such as yogis, mystics, astrologers, positive thinking teachers, meditation teachers, spiritual healers, graphno analysts, self-help teachers, counselors, coaches. The list goes on and on. The range is wide, but as always, the basic denominator is the search for truth, the search for purpose, and the search for meaning in our lives. That really cannot be separated or isolated from basic spiritual questions. The modern view assumes that the objects studied by metaphysics exist inside the mind of an observer. So the subject becomes a form of introspection and conceptual analysis. There are two kinds of metaphysics, generalized. The first one is general or universal metaphysics. The other would be special or particular metaphysics. General metaphysics studies ultimate reality, the big picture of reality, and is done empirically by most contemporary philosophers. Items of study in general metaphysics are categories, universals, and attributes. This is not necessarily the study of any afterlife or upper reality. That subject is a matter of special metaphysics. Special metaphysics has potentially an infinite number of subcategories, each studying one particular subject. One subject may be ghosts, another may be spirits. Most contemporary philosophers don't take this particular subject matter seriously. Topics that are taken seriously are philosophy of mind, psychology, personal identity, and aesthetics. Although much can be learned, understood by the people who have access to the senses that are developed to understand or see ghosts or wonder what spirits are or interpret spirits. Metaphysics is essentially just religion without all the dogma. It does not explore religious beliefs and laws created by man. It explores the immutable laws of the universe, set by whatever creator or universal presence or God you want to call it. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that studies the ultimate nature of existence and reality and experience without being bound to any one single theological doctrine or dogma. Metaphysics includes all religions, but transcends all religions. It finds the universal truth hidden beneath layers of ceremony and ritual, which are also considered modern religions. Metaphysics is also the only science capable of inquiring beyond the physical and what we call human material world. Now, there are themes within metaphysics, the philosophy. They are broken down into categories. I'm going to just list the categories. You can get detailed information on the beautiful internet, or you can go to YouTube University, educate yourself. But the themes of metaphysics, and we will get to and discuss all these themes in detail throughout this podcast: existence and consciousness, mind and matter, objects and their properties, identity and change, space and time, religion and spirituality, abstract objects and mathematics, determinism and free will, and cosmology, not to be confused with cosmogony. Cosmology and cosmogony round out the subjects of metaphysics. This is just a high-level overview of what metaphysics is, so you can understand why philosophers, mystics like myself, or healers like the rest of the AwareWolves, positive thinkers, self-help coaches like the rest of the AwareWolves, why and where we get our worldview. It comes from our understanding of metaphysics. Through listening to our podcast, the Metaphysical Fitness Podcast, you too can dive deeper into an understanding of the immutable laws, metaphysics, and in turn, better understand yourself. And isn't that what we're all trying to do in this crazy, crazy world? I really appreciate everyone for listening in to yet another episode of the Metaphysical Fitness Podcast. And I look forward to bringing you a little message from some of my co-founders in the next episode to few episodes. Once I introduce these AwareWolves to you, they will have an impact on you. So I've been saving you so that when you do feel what I've felt from these people, it has the intended impact on you and get you to act. Stay woke, y'all.